One thing about collecting physical video games, especially older cartridges, these things aren't exactly small, and having a good way to keep them neat, clean, and organized, well, that can be a bit of a challenge for some people. Now, for people like me, where I've got a 3D printer, I actually design and print my own 3D stands like this here for the original Famicom. I've got one of these too that's loaded just with the Rockman games. It's actually really, really cool. I have a link down below to my website if you want to check some of these out. There you go. But if you don't have a 3D printer and you don't want to spend a ton of money going back and recollecting some of the old storage options, what are you to do? Well, the team from Hyperkin has recently come out with some new storage options that are designed to help you keep your game room neat, clean, and organized. Hey everyone, Gary here with Rock Solid Productions. Thanks for stopping by and checking out what we have going on here today. I really do appreciate it. What I want to know from you here today in this video, how do you store your games? That's what I want to know. So we recently talked about these in a YouTube short where they have a, like this is a 2-pack of 24 cartridge storage stands for, this is for the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color should fit in this. There's also a 10 cartridge storage option for the N64. They have one for the NES. And this one again, it's a 2-pack, stores 10 of them in there. And then finally they do have one for the Super Nintendo. What I like about each of these two is they're kind of, themed in a different color that kind of suits their systems that they're designed for. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look, see how the cartridges fit, see how they stack, and take a look at the overall build quality. Let's get started. So we're going to go through each of these. We're going to start first with the NES one and basically go from oldest system to newest and everything. So not a whole lot on here, but it does have some text on the back. You can display your cartridges safely and proudly, stackable, and fits nicely on your shelves. Fits up to 10 for the NES. So is that 5 and 5? No, it looks like it's 10 and 10, so 20 total here. Nothing really on that side. So let's go ahead. We're going to take our handy dandy X-Acto knife. Now, where the shelves I make are 3D printed, these look to be injection molded, and oh, they're kind of smoky too. Those are pretty nice. Hyperkin logo up front, has the cartridge slots there. And then what else do we have here? Hyperkin sticker, and thank you for your support and purchase. Well, now I will admit I did not support them by purchasing this. They did send me these for the purposes of review, but they're not checking these out before it goes live. So we're going to just see here. So this is interesting that it basically supports the upper part of the cartridge here. The 72-pin opening is actually quite a bit narrower than the opening on here, but this actually provides a good amount of support. Now, one thing just to make sure, so here's a Famicom cartridge, and that's going to slide around a whole lot. So not designed to use with Famicom cartridges, but it does have the option where you can go ahead and stack them like that, which is pretty neat. So you can store 20 different cartridges in one unit. I like that. That's not too bad. Now let's take a look at the one for the Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced, Game Boy Color. And same type of thing here, where I think it's interesting that they're talking just about the GBA and not about the actual Game Boy. So I don't think there should be any issues with the original Game Boy games fitting in this, but we'll find out in a second, I guess. Same type of thing where you've got the Hyperkin sticker and the thank you in the box here too. So yeah, it'll fit Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced, Game Boy Color. No issues there whatsoever. Now, obviously, if you are going to use the stack function, you are going to want to use the same. Actually, on this, it has a smooth bottom, so not stackable. Holds 24 cartridges in that one, so interesting to note. So 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 24. These one package holds 48 Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, or Game Boy Color cartridges. That's cool. That's actually really, really nice to see. Up next, here's the Super NES stand. Now, one thing I'm interested in seeing as well, how it will do with Super Famicom games, and if it'll hold the Game Boy player too, or the Super Game Boy. Game Boy player was GameCube. I always thought it was weird that we never got any kind of Game Boy adapter for the N64 here in the States. I mean, there were unofficial third-party ones, but nothing official. And this one, 10 cartridges, and there are 2 of them in here, so this should hold 20 total. And what do you know, a Hyperkin sticker and a thank you for your purchase. Gotta give them credit for being consistent, am I right? All right, so let's check these out. So first and foremost, there's Tetris Attack. Now, my copy of Star Fox actually has the little plastic thing on the bottom. Will it fit? No, you do have to remove that, so good to note. And again, you get the double stack on there. And Super Famicom, a little bit on the loose side. You do have a little bit of side-to-side motion on here. Now, this is actually a PAL Super NES game, so it's that cartridge size. One thing I do want to check, where did I set it? Here is my Super Famicom Super Game Boy, and just like the Super Famicom shaped cartridges, a little bit of wiggle room, but it'll work in a pinch. Would it be my ideal solution? No, I would love to see them come up with a follow-up to this that is designed specifically for Super Famicom games. All right, we've got one last one to go. We're gonna take these guys here, play a little bit of stack up, and here are the N64 cartridge holders. And this one will hold 10 cartridges as well, or 2 packs, so this will hold 20 cartridges total. Different colors as well. I'd like to see, the smoke is nice and is very neutral, but having something that would be more of that Nintendo gray would be kind of cool. Again, one of the benefits of being able to do it 3D printer versus injection molding is I can print whatever color I want versus, you know, they're kind of tied in to whatever their injection molding company's able to provide. I mean, these are really nice and thick too. A little bit of flex, but not too much. The dividers are, you know, flex a little bit, but again, not too much. Overall, pretty well put together. Now, I do have, here is a Japanese N64 game, not a problem. I didn't think it would be an issue. There's a US game, and both of those fit without much of an issue. And again, actually, this one is much like the Game Boy cartridges where you can't stack them, but you can do like that and get a sandwich, right? No. So what do I think of these? Overall, they seem like they're pretty well made and well put together. Not too much flex. I do wish, like I mentioned, there was an elevation change, kind of like what I designed into my Famicom holder, where they will fall out like that, but where I can still see the labels, or at least part of the label, as I go up here. And these actually have a little bit wider of a gap, where these are pretty much, you know, face to face. So unless, especially on the N64, it's really bad, but on the NES, Super NES, you will be able to see the title of the game on the top sticker. Also, the Game Boy, same thing too, where, you know, if I put 2 titles front to back here, can't really see what they are. So I'd like to see something that I would be able to identify my cartridges a little bit more easily. I generally put them in alphabetical order, but still it'd be something that it'd be nice to have something kind of like this guy here with the elevation change, where I can still see the labels as I go back, or at least get an idea. So, you know, this is Bonk, that's Donald Duck, that is Mickey, or no, that's DuckTales, that's Jackie Chan, that is Major League, and that is Mighty Final Fight. And yes, that's an authentic Mighty Final Fight. Very happy to have that in the collection. I'm glad to have these too. These will definitely help with some other storage issues that I have. I think these will be good for taking to conventions, for selling some things when I do sell. I don't do that a ton. But overall, I mean, they're decently put together. I just wish that, especially on these, that there was an elevation difference so that I could see, you know, it'd be nice even if it was something just like that, where I would be able to see Dorman behind the NWO WCW Revenge cartridge. So there you have it, my look at the Hyperkin video game storage racks that I have to admit I like some more than I like others. So for example, this is what I 3D printed to store my NES games. Very similar design. This only holds 9, this holds 10, and this has the stackable feature that I can go ahead and stack basically 20 games, 10 and 10, top and bottom. So overall, I do like this. Now, one thing I wish this one in particular had a little bit longer support at the bottom of the cartridge. Give me holes on the bottom so I can mount this on the wall. That, being able to get my games like that, I would really, really like. In fact, I've been thinking about kind of tweaking and redesigning this and putting keyholes on it to do that very thing. I will say the other one I really like is the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color one. So I've got both of them pretty much filled up. And I mean, one thing is, unless you can see, the face of the cartridges, you don't know exactly what game is what as you're going through here. So that is one downside. But taking a look at what I had before, this is basically what I had remixed and designed that someone else had kind of started with, and I can hold, I think it's 10 or 12 per unit here. So this basically takes this idea, puts it into one, and the best thing, I didn't have to print this. This is something that I can go and is mass produced. Anyone can go ahead and get these. Now, I do wish this one was stackable, and it is not, which is kind of a bummer. Not having that extra material underneath, kind of like what the NES and Super NES one has. And furthermore, now, just another option I have here too. So here's another 3D printed box that I use for regular Game Boy games. Same thing. I can see the Game Boy kind of logo molded in the cartridge here. I can't see the title, so my criticism of that, I had the same issue with this, so something to keep in mind. The Super Nintendo one I really like as well. Same type of thing as the NES one, where I kind of wish I could wall mount this so I could see these. I do actually have a wall mounted storage unit for my Super Nintendo cartridges. It does, as you can see here, also fit the Super Game Boy. Now, Super Famicom will work kinda, sorta, but it is a looser fit. I'd like to see them come out with either a spacer or a way that you could use this with Super Famicom games. Finally, the N64, very similar to the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. Because you can't see the front of the cartridge, you need the end labels. Like I have Yoshi's Story here. Such an amazing game for the N64. Let me know down in the comments how much you love Yoshi's Story, Jay from Square Pegs. And no, you don't live rent-free in my head. I just enjoy tormenting you. But this overall, again, neat and clean, but you can't stack it. That is something that is lost on that one compared to like the 3D printed version that I use for my N64 games. This way you can actually see the labels. But it's one of those, this uses a lot of filament. This is about a 15 to a 20 hour print, so not something that is available for most people, I'll say. There are definite benefits to these. For the typical end user, if I didn't have a 3D printer, I would be all over these and I would be none the wiser. I do have the N64 storage tray door thing, the 12, so kind of the same thing there where you can't see the labels on the N64 games. So I mean, would like a few changes to it. I understand, like, if they did an elevation change on this and on the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color ones, it would probably increase the cost of tooling. It's not going to happen. These are really, really nitpicks. These are terrific storage units, something that if you're looking for a good way to store your retro Nintendo games, a good way to do it. I will have links to all these down below in a pinned comment if you'd want to check them out for yourself. I'll also have a link to our 3D printer store, where if you want to pick up any of the stands that I've showed you here that I print, we have a subscribe button that's back there. Make sure that you go ahead, hit that subscribe button. That way each and every time we come out with new content, you're kept informed and up to date. LED signs, a whole lot of cool things, cartridge storage, of course. Discoon, we have Discoon that we print. It's all up on our 3D printer site too. But I do want to thank Hyperkin for sending us these to check out. I think for the average person, these are going to be a really good way to go. And just the different systems that they offer here is really nice to see all the different options. And you are definitely going to see these in the background of our set here moving forward. Now, if you want to see any of the other videos that we have with any of the other product reviews, some of the 3D printer stuff that we've done, and a whole lot more, those videos are coming up for you right now. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you want to help support Rock Solid Productions and be a part of our community, there's a number of different ways you can do so. First and foremost, join us over on our Patreon page or become a channel member here on YouTube. By joining through either one of those methods, you get early access to just about all of our video content, exclusive content, and a whole lot more. We also give you shout outs at the end of each and every one of our videos. You can also pick up some awesome Rock Solid Productions swag. We've got t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and more available through our Teespring store on screen right now too. You can also pick up some of our awesome 3D printed cartridge stands, amiibo holders, Nintendo DS holders, and more by visiting our 3D printer store on screen right now as well. Links for everything will be down below in a pinned comment. If you want to stay up to date with everything we have going on here at Rock Solid Productions, make sure that you're following us on the different social media networks. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/RockSolidProductions, Instagram at instagram.com/RockSolidProductionsGK, and Twitter at RockSolidStudios. If you're looking to pick this and other retro and modern gaming accessories up, make sure that you head on over to CastlemaniaGames.com. He has a feature over there called Castle Cash, where the more you spend, the more you earn towards future purchases, and Castle Cash is just like cash. He also offers convenient payment plans for more expensive items over $50. Finally, make sure that you use promo code ROCKSOLID10 when you're shopping at CastlemaniaGames.com, as it can save you up to 10% on most items on the website. Again, thank you for watching this episode, and I cannot wait to see you again soon.